All right, man, peace. In part one of this series, NBA legend and future Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant sat down with Jalen Rose, and he discussed the re-release of the sneakers that he wore in his 81-point game against the Toronto Raptors. He also gave his view on whether or not he should be involved in recruiting elite-level players to come play for the Lakers. As he assessed it, if he has to recruit them, they are not mentally built to carry on the legacy that has been established by the LA Lakers and the retinue of alpha males who've come through that team, who understood that you had to have an alpha male personality to lead that team to championships in that city. Of course, Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman are going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
You shouldn't need recruiting to come here, right? It takes a special person to want to play for this franchise and take the pressure that comes along with playing for this franchise.
Let me say this quickly. As I stated in part one, I agree with Kobe Bryant because this is a subjective case. There are certain situations where, yes, you should recruit. If you're Russell Westbrook, you should be recruiting Paul George. Not every day like a stalker because he's already on your team, but just showing him that it is a priority for you to make sure that he understands that he's wanted there, that he's going to be made to feel comfortable there, that he's going to be made to understand that he is a top priority because he's essential to them winning. There are certain locations where, yes, you do have to recruit. If you're Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan in Toronto, you have to recruit. If you're in Philadelphia and you're Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons, yes, you have to recruit because you're not members of franchises that have a rich legacy of winning. Yes, the 76ers have been to the finals. They've won the finals with Dr. J and Moses Malone. You have other franchises like, of course, Oklahoma City. They've been to the finals. But there's no legacy of winning there. There's not an aura surrounding those franchises. With the LA Lakers, pretty much all they've ever had to do is bring that player in and show them the rafters and the hanging jerseys. And that's pretty much has been enough. But the thing is right now, does a player, a prospective player coming to play for the Lakers, have a respect and an understanding for their history? Do they feel like they want to become a part of that legacy of following behind a Kobe Bryant, who hasn't won anything for that franchise since 2010? Or is it the modern day mentality of, I can make my own legacy somewhere else? I mean, pretty much the days of the legacy franchises are coming to an end because of social media and mass media. You can go to Milwaukee and get the same money that you can get playing for New York or LA. You can't really swing that agenda-driven propaganda of you have to come to a big market in order to be seen anymore. So I understand where Kobe's coming from. You are going to have to want to be in LA to be there. No amount of recruiting is going to imbue you with the perspective that it would take to lead a franchise like that in a city like that.
The pressure of following Magic's footsteps and myself and like the dynasty that we've had, it takes a special person to do that. And if I need to convince you to come here to carry that legacy forward, you ain't the one to be it.
I agree. And as I stated, I believe in part one, it's also like that in everyday life. If you always have to chase somebody, they're not worth making any type of mental or spiritual commitment with. You're supposed to be moving towards them as they move towards you.
All right, you can check out the full interview with Kobe and Jalen Rose online right now. But you heard it, guys. Kobe says the Lakers shouldn't have to beg players to come to LA. Stephen A., does he have a point?
I think he does have a point. I think he does have a point, particularly when it comes to the great players, because what happens is that when you're talking about the great players, let's be for real. Really, the only player in the NBA right now who's built to take over the legacy aspect of the Los Angeles Lakers is LeBron James. He's the only one with the cachet and the experience to come in and know how to win. It really comes down to, are Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka going to be able to also sign the supplementary players that LeBron would need to bring that team back to prominence immediately? So that means not just LeBron, but also a Paul George and maybe a third player to team up with Lonzo and the other cast of characters that they have there. Obviously, of course, hiring the coach. And we all know
if Magic does indeed bring in LeBron James, the condition will be that Luke Walton will not be the coach. All right? So please watch out for David Fizdale becoming the new coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. And if he does get signed prior to LeBron James coming to the team, it most likely is a signal that LeBron James is coming to the team. That's why I stated for a very long time, I believe that LeVar Ball was making statements about Luke Walton because, number one, LeVar Ball has a high level understanding of basketball. But number two, notice Magic Johnson never refuted a LeVar Ball statements about Luke Walton. And if he did, he kind of did it in more of a half-hearted way. It's because Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka are looking down the line, as all general managers must do, and chief executive operators. They're looking down the line. They're looking at where this franchise is going to be in 2 years. They're looking at their style of play. If they have the personnel to complement the style of play. Luke Walton comes out of the Golden State system. Do they have shooters that can maximize the Golden State system? The answer is no. They're going to have to bring in a coach that knows how to utilize players that can play in a more conventional setting and are not necessarily dead-eye shooters. So that is where David Fizdale will come in. So we'll see what happens. But watch for Luke Walton to possibly get removed at the end of the season, them hiring Fizdale, and that may be a signal that LeBron James is coming to the Lakers.
When you wear that purple and gold and you become a part of Laker Nation, regardless of what a tremendous and strenuous efforts Jim Buss did to ruin everything that it represented, the bottom line is simple. When it comes to wearing that purple and gold, it stands for something. It's associated with championships. The only thing superior to that in NBA annals is the Boston Celtics. I mean, that's it. Outside of that, it's all about the Lakers. And so when you look at it from that perspective, understand what he was alluding to, because Max, he's consistent. He felt the same way when the Lakers wanted him to pursue Dwight Howard. Here they wanted, I mean, think about how insulted Kobe was. That's why he walked into the meeting and he was so utterly disgusted, and it was very put offish in the part of Dwight Howard. He received it in a he received Kobe as being relatively aloof to him. And Kobe's mentality was very, very simple. I have 5 championships. These are the Lakers. This is the purple and gold. You're talking about you want to be great, and we need to convince you to want to be in this market, the second largest market in the world.
I also think that Kobe's mentality was, dude, we kicked your ass back in 2009. You haven't done shit in the 2 or 3 years since then. And now you want to sit here and be feted by me? That is an indirect way of me acknowledging that you're going to be my superior. I'm not going to do that. So yes, I'm going to come into the meeting and be aloof and be a little arrogant to let you understand that when you come here, should you come here, that you're going to be subservient to me. And I touched on that in the first video. Kobe understands that everything is spiritual. When you divest any level of power to someone by chasing them or feting them or courting them, you're basically saying that I'm going to be submissive to you. And that's not consistent with his personality. So bottom line is he's really just not built to court other players. He looks at every other player as a potential target and rival, not as a compliment per se. Kobe's attitude is I could do it by myself if need be.
The palm trees and the sunshine, but ultimately an organization that has been associated and affiliated with championships for years. Why should we have to go out of our way to convince you? You should be wanting us. You should be wanting to tell us how badly you want to stay.
Exactly.
Because supposedly we have what you want. And I think that's the kind of thing that Kobe is alluding to. Had he just made some blanket statement, Max, about how, you know what, I shouldn't have to convince you to be here and that's it, without an explanation, it would be different considering the recent struggles of the Lakers, considering the Genie and Jim Buss era. But that's not what he's saying here. He's talking about the history and living up to that challenge. Do you want it or don't you? And the great players should want that challenge.
Absolutely. And when Dwight was traded there, Dwight basically believed that after his first season with the Lakers, that he would get Kobe to show him the respect that he felt like he never got in that first season by having Kobe try to recruit him in that meeting, in that free agency meeting. Dwight did not receive the attention that he felt like he deserved. And he didn't deserve the attention because he did not show that he had the ability to dig deep mentally and assist them in any way. Kobe really wanted Dwight to come in the locker room like Shaq did and engage him in a fist fight for control of the team. That's just Kobe's attitude. Once again, Kobe is like an alpha male. He's like the lead lion of the pride. When that lion starts to get old, he wants you to take control of his pride. He's not going to step down and say, okay, I'll just take 2 lionesses, you take the other 10, and I'll just chill out. No, he says, you don't have to kill me to get all the women and the children. And that was the persona that Kobe wanted Dwight to exhibit if he was going to be a continued member of the LA Lakers. And Dwight was unable to conjure that energy. And you know what? The best contribution that Dwight Howard made to the LA Lakers was that through him, that led to the reconvening of Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, because they found someone that they both hated. And because they both hated Dwight Howard so much, that inspired them to reminisce about their time period together and what they both took for granted about each other.
First of all, #1 franchise ever. It's not close as the Lakers. The Celtics are a distant second. They have one more championship than the Lakers, 17-16. However,
I said the Celtics were #1.
Right, no, I'm saying that's not really true. You have to contextualize. The vast majority of the Celtics championships, 13 of them, came in the pre-modern era. You wouldn't recognize the league, and the game was a very, very different game.
Well, then you know what, Max Kellerman? By those standards that you yourself set, please, when you start talking about the New York Yankees, only name the championships that they've won in the quote-unquote modern era. Don't name the championships that they won under Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle, because that was prior to the quote-unquote modern era. Only name the championships that they've won since the late 60s or into the mid to late 70s, if we're going to play that game. Because you cannot penalize the Celtics for being the most successful franchise for a decade in the 60s just because it was in the pre-modern era. You can't do that, sir.
Since the modern era, the Lakers have won 10. The Celtics have won 4. And
yeah, so they've been better in the modern era. That doesn't make them the best franchise overall. I myself would probably take the Lakers as the greatest franchise overall, but you can't penalize the Celtics by saying, well, they won most of their championships in the pre-modern era. You have to give them credit for that. But the Lakers have shown the ability to flip over great players and flip over eras greater than the Celtics. That's why I would give the Lakers the edge over the Celtics as the greatest NBA franchise. They were able to win with the West Chamberlain Lakers. They won with the Magic Kareem Lakers. They won with the Kobe Shaq Lakers. They won with the Kobe Gasol Lakers. The Celtics were able to win with the Russell Celtics, and then in the 70s they got a couple with the Havlicek Celtics, and then they got a couple with the Bird Celtics, and then they got one with Pierce and Garnett. Now, if that Pierce Garnett group had been able to get a couple of more, then I would give them the edge, a slight edge. I mean, it's nip and tuck, it's neck and neck. You can make cases for both franchises, but I would give the slight edge to the Lakers, slight edge.
Since the Lakers are only 1 behind, they are the #1 franchise. History of basketball, not close. Don't even think the Celtics are in the conversation with them.
A lot of that is also Max Kellerman's hatred for the Celtics coming out and everything Boston.
With them, to be honest. I do think you discount according to time. Celtics ahead of everyone else still, but you cannot compare them to the Lakers.
Remember that, sir, when you start to evaluate your New York Yankees. You discount according to time. So that means that all the World Series is won under Babe Ruth and under Joe DiMaggio, under Mickey Mantle. Can I count those? Because that's before the modern era. Certainly the DiMaggio and the Babe Ruth World Series must be discounted because that was before Jackie Robinson.
That's #1. #2, Kobe's wrong. He's just wrong. Because this was the rationale that...
Or many of them were before Jackie Robinson. I believe that DiMaggio won a couple after Jackie came into the major leagues. But most of them were before Jackie Robinson.
That Jeannie Buss used when they handed him that huge extension, making the highest paid player in the league when they just gotten out of his contract. We're going to signal to the marketplace that...
Jeannie Buss, MK Sex Kitten, assigned to Phil Jackson. Jeannie Buss is something else. Her father was her first programmer, but she's under the programming. Jeannie Buss, she is a Monarch programmed MK Sex Kitten, beta programmed.
Hey, the Lakers Lakers take care of you for life. Well,
allegedly.
Well, how has that turned out so far? The late, great Dr. Jerry Buss, the real reason for the Lakers' success more than anyone, has passed away now several years ago. He's not around anymore. Jerry West does not work for the Lakers any longer. Magic Johnson does now, and that bodes well, I think. I like what he's done so far.
There she was with one of her handlers, her previous handlers, Phil Jackson. You'll oftentimes see many of the more affluent females in Hollywood assigned to top coaches or actors or athletes because they're given their keys. Like Marilyn Monroe, speaking of Joe DiMaggio, he had her keys. John F. Kennedy had her keys. Robert F. Kennedy had her keys. The playwright Arthur Miller had Marilyn Monroe's keys. Marilyn Monroe is what you call a diamond-level programmed monarch sex kitten.
So far, but a lot of what made the Lakers special is gone.
I believe that she was at diamond level, what they call it. They call it diamond level. There are different levels according to a certain jewel. Like they had diamond level, they have emerald level, so on and so forth. But you'll oftentimes see many of these top-level singers or actresses wearing the leopard print or some other animal print, sometimes the red shoes, or they'll have their little dog. Those are monarch program sex kittens.
And Kobe can stand on principle, and the Lakers can stand on principle all they want. But where does that get you? Where it's gotten you was no top free agents want to sign with them. They are now finally starting to build themselves up under competent management with Magic. I think exceptional management, in fact. And I wasn't anticipating exceptional. But who knew that Magic would be this good? But I really think he is totally excellent. And
well, look, you don't really know how good Magic is. He has Rob Pelinka working with him. Magic's job is really to act as a liaison between the Lakers and the rest of the players in the NBA, between the Lakers and many of the major media outlets. Magic has a gift for gab. He's extremely charismatic, and that is his main role. Rob Pelinka's job is to assess the talent and bring it in. Magic is too good of a player to assess talent. Great players cannot assess talent.
And the Lakers are heading in the right...
For the most part. I mean, you have your exceptions to that rule. You have a Jerry West. Larry Bird was very good also. But for the most part, great players are not good at assessing talent.
In the right direction. But the idea that you have to stand on principle and damn it, you have to want to play here and come. What do the Lakers have to offer in terms of all that stuff? Magic is the only link with the past, really, in those glory days. Everyone else is gone.
It's a major market.
And the luster is starting to come off.
Well, it's a combination of a couple of things. Number one, it's a major market. Number two, and more importantly, I think that you're giving a convoluted view of what happened with Kobe Bryant. You have to remember something. The Los Angeles Lakers, they might have had the money, but they didn't have the infrastructure. They didn't have the personnel in their executive branch to really garner the attention of marquee free agents. I'm telling you what I know. There are guys that came to see the Los Angeles Lakers and literally saw Jeannie Buss on the opposite side of a gym from Jim Buss. It was clearly a divide.
I was there, Stephen. I saw it.
I know you are. So
you know why that was, Stephen A? Because neither one of them were qualified to run the franchise. That's why I stated, do not be surprised in a few years if you hear about Jeannie Buss selling the franchise to Magic Johnson. Do not be shocked. Magic is trying to make a major power play here, and he's being very patient. I did a video about this months ago, that Magic will eventually own the LA Lakers. He will try to purchase the franchise from her down the line. The main issue that Magic has is that he doesn't have the cash money to put down the principal on buying that franchise. That's the only issue. Or she may have sold it to him already, but she cannot sell it to him for cheap. The LA Lakers are probably the most valuable franchise, or one of the top 5 most valuable franchises in all of American sports. But believe me, that is his play. He wants to buy that team. But neither one of the Buss children in question, that being Jim Buss or Jeannie Buss, are qualified to run that team. That's why they started going back and forth like cats and dogs after their father passed away. Because they really want to sell it, but they can't, because it's too much of an anchor on their back. They have become so associated and affiliated with that team that they have to find an adequate buyer. And then the conundrum that they're in is that that team is still making them so much money. They have a multi-billion-dollar contract with their television outlet. So they're trying to figure out what to do.
So that's my point. That's why I'm accusing you of not contextualizing things properly, because you have to point out how the divide that existed made them unattractive to a lot of people, which is why they felt the need to take care of Kobe, because they also needed Kobe to be box office, even as his skills were eroding due to age and attrition.
And by the way,
well, wait a minute, Steve. Did they choose to sign Kobe because they had that separation between them, or did they have that separation between them because they chose to sign Kobe? Which one came first? Let's understand something. I'm of the firm belief that the main reason why Jeanie Buss and Jim Buss fell out is because Jim Buss didn't want to re-sign Kobe. I think he wanted to let Kobe go. And I think that Jeanie Buss told him, no, we're going to re-sign Kobe Bryant. Because it is well known in NBA circles. When I say NBA circles, I mean people who just pay attention to the game and the inner workings of just corporate dynamics, that other players did not want to come play with Kobe Bryant. Kobe's that guy that you respected, but you didn't want to come play with him. They didn't want to deal with his bullshit. And Jim Buss understood that if I keep Kobe, we have no chance of signing any free agents. That's why we have to make these trades to try to force great players to come here. They made the trade for Dwight Howard. They tried to make the trade for Chris Paul. No top-level free agents were going to come play with Kobe Bryant. That was not going to happen. I believe that Jim Buss knew that. He wanted to let Kobe go, and Jeanie Buss put the kibosh on it, and that led to a lot of problems between them. That is why Kobe Bryant started to feed Stephen A. Smith all this information about Jim Buss. If you guys remember, Stephen A. Smith started to come on television railing on Jim Buss about 3 years ago. The way he was going at Jim Buss, you would think that Jim Buss stole his girlfriend, had sex with his mother, and pissed in his lemonade or something. I never seen a man go at an owner like how he was going at Jim Buss, or someone who has associations with the owner in a familial capacity. It was just pathetic, and it was so obvious that he was speaking for Kobe Bryant, allegedly.
Because of what they did, because of what they did not do.
But he wasn't box office. He didn't play in a lot of games. And by the way,
well, he was box office by name recognition. That's what Stephen A. is talking about. But the dynamics that I'm addressing is the fact that Jim Buss was forced to re-sign Kobe. And when he was forced to re-sign Kobe, in my view, that put the Lakers in the position where they had to be bad for those 2 years, and it had to become the Kobe circus. He had to become quote-unquote box office. That's what Stephen A. is not addressing. Jim Buss wanted to start over and ship Kobe out. His attitude was the Kobe Bryant tenure, the Kobe Bryant era has ended. Kobe Bryant is not a player who was meant to really age well because he's not deferential. There are certain players who age well because they can defer, like a Tim Duncan. He can age well. Kobe's not going to age well because he wants to be the guy taking 35 shots in a big game, whether he's 22 or 42. Jim Buss and his GM at the time, I believe Mitch Kupchak, they understood that it was better to be ahead of the pack than behind. And this is Kobe coming off of a torn Achilles. There's no way that he should have gotten a 2-year deal coming off of a torn Achilles, or a year after coming off the torn Achilles. It was ridiculous. They should have let him go and then built afresh and seen who they could recruit. But Kobe was trying to sabotage them and any attempt that they would have made to bring in somebody new, because he wanted his money and he knew what Jim Buss's plans were, which were to get rid of him, bring in somebody new. Kobe Bryant's attitude was, no, I don't think so. You're going to re-sign me. And Kobe probably went to Jeanie Buss and told her what was going on. And then she ran back and told Jim, no, you're going to re-sign Kobe. He's done too much for our franchise. And that has set them back since then.
By the way, you're right about your characterization of what scared away free agents. Where he wasn't in a lot of games. If he's not playing, how is he box office?
No. We're not talking about when he's not playing. Even when they gave him money before that too.
Yes, I know. I'm talking about the final extension when they could have just let him walk. And by the way, what would his options would have been? Had they handled the team competently by not giving him the extension, they would have been more likely to attract good players.
All right, major market.
Absolutely. Completely agree with Max. Stephen A. Smith is rolling his eyes with all the chick energy that he has. It's not a surprise. Plus, he's one of Kobe Bryant's bitch boys. He has to basically side with Kobe because Kobe's one of the few affluent players who will talk to him. I get it. But Max Kellerman is right on this situation. He is correct. By them signing Kobe to that 2-year deal, it hamstrung their franchise. But most Laker fans are too dumb to understand that shit anyway. Oh, boy. Most of those people are too damn dumb to understand that. They're like, yeah, Kobe back for another 2 more seasons. Yeah. Yeah. Love it. I got to go buy me another 3 Kobe jerseys. Another 3 Kobe nightgowns. But anyway, peace.